Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you can all hear me well because I've made sure the sound is going out and working as it should. I'm standing up this week as well because I've had a slight rearrange with all the equipment, and if I sit down, I'm like this. So I'm going to stand up. Also stops the seat from dropping as we've been having over the last few weeks. How are we all anyway? How are we all? What's everyone been up to in your allotment and garden? It's been interesting lately, hasn't it? This lockdown, which doesn't really feel like a lockdown. I've just realised I've left the heater on, so you might be hearing that come through the sound at the moment. But yes, as it's this lockdown number 3, as we call it, it's not really feeling like a lockdown, is it? I don't think so anyway. But I'm working right throughout, so I haven't had a huge amount of time, apart from that this weekend, to get out in the garden or down the allotment. But yesterday I was in here doing a few bits, getting my grow lights, as you can probably see down the side, all set up, all my heated propagators all ready to go. And we've what else have we been doing? Oh, today I've been clearing away and composting lots and lots of material. So it hasn't been a complete and utter failure at all. By a long way, we've been doing a lot. Let's have a quick look at the comments and see if anybody's actually watching. Yeah, we have. Ian Beddow, 666 subscribers. Which one do we need to avoid? I would say you need to avoid you, Ian. Stuart Jackson, good evening to you. Lee Connolly, good evening to you. Sunday vibes indeed. Good evening. Nearly missed it from Turbo Stream. Just looked at the clock. Well done. Thank you for that. Sean's Garden, new set. Well, fairly new. We've been in here a couple of weeks now, and it's coming together quite nicely. Richard Vobes is up there. Good evening to you. Lee has said, keep warm, mate. Can't hear the heater. Good. That is very, very pleased to hear that. What else have we got? Still not been to my allotment. It's been too blooming wet. Actually, that's a good point. I didn't go to my allotment this weekend because it's just too wet to even consider going down the allotment. Don't want to get stuck in the mud. That happened. But also just working in that mud, just nothing I can really do without or to make it worthwhile. Got plenty to do at home, and I'm getting very much ready to go. Although we do not, from tomorrow, access to the allotment now is slightly restricted. So we've got a lot of things that we're going to have to change. What else have we got there? Ernie is out there. Good evening to you. Hope you're well. I trust you're well. Yep, very well. Thank you. Good week for ridding the ground elder, which Ernie has been battling with slowly but surely. Looking forward to this evening's show. Thank you. Yeah, ground elder, what a nasty pernicious weed, almost as bad as couch grass. So glad to see you making way with it. What Sean is saying, he's had a wonderful day on the allotment today. Lovely sunshine here in London all day, and got plenty done without filming it. Actually, talking of filming it, I did want to film a little tour of my shed, but I never got round to it, which I was going to play in tonight. But never mind. We're here. I've got no videos to play in this evening, unfortunately, so it's just me. But what I do want to ask everyone, and if anybody has any idea or thoughts on this, is how do you go about planning your garden or allotment? Now, I've got something coming up on the podcast tomorrow where I've interviewed somebody who created a website called Veg Plotter, which is an all-in-one planning software online service. Some of the people in the supporters club have already heard a pre-record of this interview, but a lot more coming up on that tomorrow. But it's got me wondering, how does anybody else out there plan their allotments or their gardens? In years past, I would just write things down, get a rough idea of where I'm going, and just try and have a plan, but keep it very, very loose. Now, that served me well over the years, and I feel it works pretty damn good and is very, very easy and very efficient. But I've been experimenting, and I've dabbled with these sort of things in the past with various ideas on trying to make it a bit easier for me. And one is using this veg plotter .com, I think it is, which I'll show you in a second, the rough idea. Oh, we have our first caller before we get into that. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Oh, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
You sound miles away. I don't know if everyone else can hear me, but you sound miles away.
That's weird. I don't know what's going on there.
I can sort of hear you though.
Oh, okay, as long as you can sort of hear me, that's all right.
Before I answer your question tonight, that's Lee, by the way. Hello, Lee.
Yep.
Skingy Ghana. If you look at you and your set tonight,
Yeah.
and do you remember the film The Borrowers?
Yes. Is it a bit like that?
If you think of The Borrowers, it looks like doing the show.
It does look a bit like I'm in a cardboard box. That I granted. It's this hardboard. It was my mistake.
Think of The Borrowers. There's the exact look.
Yeah, we're going to get rid of this hardboard soon. Once now I've been refunded my money, I can afford it now.
Oh, nice one. Anyway, I thought I'd call in about tonight's because, as you know, I'm an international garden designer, and thought I'd be the perfect guy to kick things off tonight.
Go for it. What's your thoughts?
Wow, I think so. Basically, I'm still trying to find them in the mountain of paperwork that I've kept. Is when I first moved to my house, which was about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I had sheds everywhere. It was a bit of a mess. It wasn't quite how I wanted it. And I actually sat down one day over like a week and drew out. Obviously, the taxi wasn't in the plan to begin with, but drew out how I wanted my garden. And obviously over time it's changed a little bit. Yeah. But I want to try and find the plans because it pretty much 7 years ago, my garden's pretty much looking how I expected it to look then. So I'm all about pen and paper, mate. Write it down, draw it out, have a few sheets of paper and go through it.
Pen and paper, nice and simple. Do you ever lose your plans though, your pen and paper or your bit of paper, I guess?
Well, like I say, I've lost us, but they're up there. You know, they're up here, mate. They're up here. For,
right.
But I want to try and find them because ideally, I want to try and frame them and say, look, actually, this plan that you come up with 7 years ago has turned into what you expected it to be. You've got to have some sort of base plan, to get going.
I think so, even if it's just this is what I want to grow this year. But I do. So over the years, I've certainly found that it's much easier to work out what I want to grow where, and also take into recollection. So last year I grew potatoes in one area. I know I can't grow potatoes in that area again. So that's sort of another element of my planning that goes on.
It makes sense. Also, you've got to be willing to say, "Oh, that didn't work this time. We're going to have to put it somewhere. We have to move it." A different area of the garden or allotment, depending where you're at.
Yeah, of course.
Because I don't know about you, like everyone's like, oh, the sun starts here and it finishes there, and I mean, I don't necessarily look at that. That's not necessarily the first thing I look at, of garden and stuff, and then you realise, oh, maybe it's not as sunny there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
things change throughout the year. It's not unless you go through a whole season you really know how a garden sits. I mean, it's not unless you go through a few seasons, but
yeah, I agree with that. Also, if you take down a tree or something, how that changes everything as well.
Yeah, things change a lot. We used to have a massive it was massive. Like I thought it was going to fall down at the end of my garden. Yeah, and for a while it wasn't my conifer, I should say. But for a while, it shaded my allotment over time when it was down the end of the garden.
Yeah.
And then I moved some bits around, and a year later, they cut it down. So, great.
Of course. All the way to
my luck, isn't it?
Just your luck, absolutely.
Things do change. Like you say, things grow, trees grow, things get cut down. It's always changing. But you have like at least even for an allotment, like a base plan of where you're going to put your beds and shed, and even if you ain't got your shed, like that's the thing. If you're thinking in the future, even 5 years ahead, that I'm going to get a greenhouse, I'm going to get a shed, just put it on the plan anyway. Just so you don't use up that space, because one of the things you'll do is you'll spend like 3 or 4 years doing something in that area, and then just your luck, you'll be given a shed, or someone will be getting rid of a greenhouse, or you'll find something on marketplace and get it for nothing, and then you have nowhere to put it, and then you've got to rip up all your stuff that you put down in that space. So
makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense.
That's my thoughts on tonight's question.
Yeah, well, so that's a vote for pen and paper, which I think is probably going to be the most popular way of planning out tonight. But we will find out as we go on through.
Yeah, I mean, there are technical things, and there's technology does help, but I'm just always, even like diary-wise, people are like, oh, don't you have a diary in your phone? I'm like, nah, I'm pen and paper all day, mate. Old school.
Yeah. I mean, pen and paper is simple and easy.
Well, it's just scribble bits out, and you get through like a whole pad of A4 paper, sure, but get there in the end.
Sure.
Okay, mate. Well, I just thought I'd ring in. Tell you look like a borrower, and to tell you my ideas.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great, and I will do something about looking like a borrower in due course.
Have a great show, dude.
Have a good one.
Bye, mate.
Cheers, man. Bye. There we go. That was our first caller. I saw somebody else was trying to ring in during that as well. So if you want to call back in, then please do, or zap yourself in if you don't want to call in. Oh, speaking of which, hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
Sean from London.
Hello, Sean from London. How are you today?
I've had a beautiful day on the allotment today.
It's been a lovely day today, isn't it? Actually, outside.
Well, it was quite strange because I set my alarm to be up at 7 o'clock because I knew the sun was coming. So I was on the plot for 10, and it was beautiful, nice and quiet. And I suddenly caught myself thinking, I wonder where everybody else is. And you could have sworn a bus had just turned up. Over the course of 15 minutes, every single plot holder turned up.
Do you think everyone was having a slow day today?
I think everybody they all told me they were at home, and when they realised the sun was here to stay, then they all came out at the same time.
Right. Yeah, makes sense.
Regarding the question, I use a piece of software called growveg.co.uk.
Yeah.
Which is very similar to the guy that you're going to speak to. And for this year, for some reason, I've actually planned my plot down to the inch.
Wow.
I want to try and get the most out of the space that I've got.
Yeah. So I think I've seen the Grow Veg one. That sounds very, very similar to Veg Plotter. How are you?
It's Grow Veg came first, Veg Plotter came second, and I have worked with Veg Plotter in the past, and I think they've got a feature where you can actually see how the garden grows throughout the season.
Yes, I'm still learning, but yes, I've seen that as well. And you can make it plan for the future where you get your harvests out, what you can take out, and follow that up with, which is what I quite like.
But something that I've decided to do this year is I'm actually planning to reduce my potato harvest, and I might actually just do them in pots.
Right, good idea.
And use the space by doing the plan, it gives you more of a chance to step back and sort of think, right, is that the best use of that space?
Yeah.
So my potato bed is now turning into a cut flower bed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And I've realised by making a plan that my garden is a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Sure. Yeah.
So I can purposely have a veg section and a flower section.
Sure.
And there's word that the plot next door to me may be available soon.
So you're going to get another plot potentially.
Yes, but if I get that, I'll probably just put an orchard in there.
Nice idea. Nice idea. Now, using these online planning apps, how have you found it using them?
Once you've put the legroom in by putting in the dimensions, if you've got a plot that's square and your bed's a square, it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
But my plot seems to be triangles, and they're triangles that I've created. So it's been a bit more difficult to try and do the plan. But once the plan is in there, you can then jump forward a year and change different plants and change things around. Because I found by using pen and paper, it was fine, but it was I making the most of that space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with this grow veg thing, I can already tell you that I need 8 cornflower plants, 54 cosmos, lavender. I need 16 of them because it tells you how many you need to fill that space.
Yes, or how many you can fit in that space.
Yes.
Yeah. So so that's a good shout out or a good reason to try these online ones.
Plus, I was fascinated to find out how much would it cost for me to make the garden that I want to have.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I can blow it up in my head. Oh, it's going to cost hundreds of pounds. I won't be able to afford it. But if you work things out, you can sort of go, oh, well, I could do that this month. The next month I could do something else.
Yeah.
And then you can get the garden. And I keep referring to garden because my allotment is a leisure garden classification.
Yeah. Well, you don't exactly have a garden outside your house, do you?
No. So by the time I finish, if it develops into what it's in my head, it'll be more of a cottage garden.
Yes, because you like a good cottage garden, don't you?
I do.
Yes, I don't blame you.
Put me down for technology.
One more for technology. So that's me and you so far for technology, and everyone else seems to be going for pen and paper.
But just to give you a bit of news that's going on, and maybe something to debate in the next show.
Yeah.
In Wales, you're only allowed to buy essential items in shops.
Right. Yeah.
And they've banned the sale of vegetable seeds.
Well, I can tell you now that for me, that doesn't seem right, especially if you're trying to grow your own food.
Well, it just doesn't make sense at all because it may not be essential at the moment, but it will be essential in 3 months when the lockdown is still on.
Absolutely. And people growing something like onions, they want to do that now. Get it in there.
Yes. And what's your plot like regarding? Are there any empty plots, or are the community quite good in getting new people on?
No, there's a couple of empty plots. Most of them are full up, but there are a couple of empty ones that I've seen. I don't think there's much of a waiting list, in all honesty, down here.
Oh, right, because in London, waiting lists have increased by about 1,000% from the research that I've spoken to.
Wow.
Secretaries, that it's actually gone through the roof, and allotment sites are increasing their security because I think they're a bit paranoid, but they think people are going to break in this summer and steal veg.
Well, I was surprised that didn't happen more last year, in all honesty.
Yes, well, I personally think that the lockdown will carry on until May, but by September, I think we'll be back to normal.
Yes, I think you're probably right there, in all honesty.
That's my predictions. Anyway, I will get off and let somebody else phone.
Lovely. Thank you very much for your call, Sean. Lovely to hear from you.
Bye.
Bye. There we go. Sean James Cameron on the phone there, chatting about the software that he uses. So we've had quite a few comments come in during that time. If you want to zap yourself in, I'll add the link to the comments right now, unless you're in the Facebook groups, you won't see that. Quickly. So David Lee Robson, that's Dave from Dave's Allotment, if I'm not mistaken, has joined. Hello, hope you are well. Stephen Moscow, I measured the allotment plot and drew it out on scale to paper. Then I set out an easy, workable size growing bed. So that's another vote for pen and paper so far. John Williams, regimented planting. No thanks. Plant what you want, where you want. Great idea. That's a very, very good point, actually. He's trying to do this. So I saw this. I'm old-fashioned. Just sit down on the allotment with pen and paper. I think that was another vote I saw there. And Turbo Stream as well. Pen and paper seems to be the popular choice for how to work out. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is Stuart Reynolds in the Facebook group. Piece of paper, then pin it to the shed on my plot. Very rarely stick to it. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I could do with sticking one up on the wall here somewhere. On that note about the veg seeds, can be bought online and in supermarkets. So in Wales, although I have seen pictures of seeds being closed off, don't really know what to say. A waiting list on my site was 60 years at one point. It's now down to 12 years. I hear the stories. In fact, when I got my allotment here in Littlehampton, there was the stories that it was going to take 40 years back then. Well, I had mine within 2 weeks, so I was a bit uncertain. Or I think the long waiting list seems to be in the really busy, populated areas, in my opinion. It could be different where you are, of course, but certainly down here in Littlehampton, we've got empty plots and we don't have a waiting list, as far as I'm aware. Stuart Jackson is also saying pen and paper. And I bought the Veg Grow one, but it won't work on my iPad. So that's a good point. I believe the Veg Plotter, which I'm talking to on tomorrow's podcast, I'm actually talking to the guy who created it. A good point. Why should supermarkets sell seeds and not a family-run nursery? I totally agree with that. But yes, the Veg Grow one, I don't know if Veg Plotter works on an iPad. It works on a computer. I know that much. Shall I show you what this Veg Plotter one is all about? Let's see. Is it? There we go. This is the design that I've set up on for my half of my allotment. So let's zoom it out and you get a better idea of what we're looking at. So what we've got, this is my lower half of my allotment that I've had for quite a while. Up here we have my globe artichoke plants, then my rhubarb and my asparagus. Now what that's told me, looking at that, I can already fit a lot more asparagus into that area than what I have currently. I've got an apple tree just there. Then I've got my Jerusalem artichokes. These are my main beds: onions, cabbages and broccoli, peas and broad beans, broccoli and purple sprout and broccoli, garlic. And these 3 beds are currently empty at the moment, but that's that all develop. I've got my shed just down here, my compost heap's down here, and my greenhouse is just here. So what I like about this is that it seems pretty simple to do. What I thought we'll create a new plot and get an idea of how we can use this. Now let's skip the tutorial because I've played around with it quite a bit, so I've got an idea. So first things, let's set the size of the allotment. So we'll do this on my top half. We know it's 12 meters long and 10 meters wide. So we've got that set up there. Update. Now, what I have on the top, we have a rectangular bed. So we'll drag and drop that in. And if I'm not mistaken, we can grow that along there. And, oh, no, we want that to stay there. And along there. So we've got at the very top of this allotment, I have a bed which is 1 meter wide and runs the length of it. Now in there, what do I have in there? I've got some, let's find some rhubarb. Most of these I actually inherited. Then we've got some gooseberries, which don't, gooseberry, we've got one there, and I think we'll put another one, if I remember right. So now, what I saw there, when I moved that, I do this with another one, when I moved it in, when it went red, it shows that there's not enough space between the two to bring them in. So I think that's great for that, because it actually does. Let me bring this back onto me quickly. Yeah, I think it's great for that, to work out your spacing and how much space you have to fit certain plants in. Now, we'll come back to it in just a second. Let's have a quick look at the comments, because I see we've got a few come in. So Sean is asking how I use Jerusalem artichokes in the kitchen. Well, my favourite thing to do with them is soup, cream of artichoke soup. It's delicious, very easy to store, and I warm it up in the morning, take it to work in a thermos flask, and it's great for that. Only thing you've got to watch out with Jerusalem artichokes, of course, is they are nicknamed fartichokes. So not great for the reason that they do give you wind. Another thing I like to do with Jerusalem artichokes is a gratin. So they're chopped up, boiled in a bit of stock, and then they are put in the oven with some cheese, and it is absolutely delicious. So 2 recipes there. I think they're both on the website of the veggrowerpodcast.co.uk. Ernie is saying he's currently planning the veg and flower plot on paper. Come nearer to the spring, we should know what we want and where. I'll finalise the plan using InDesign graphics software on my Mac. Now, I'm not familiar with graphics software. I've got to admit, I'm not the most IT proficient person. So using graphics software is probably a much simpler and easier way to do it than what I do. But I personally, I can't use it. I can't use it. I need something to tell me how to do it. I wish I had an allotment. This is from Stuart Jackson, but I would never have the time with my garden and a school garden, so I will have to wait until I retire. You'll suddenly find yourself making the time, believe it or not. Andrew, we drew up a plan on paper some years ago, keeping in mind the companion part in this plan. We simply rotate and repeat each year with a few additions. That's interesting you mentioned companion planting, because when I was chatting to the guy from Veg Plotter, he did mention that they have factored in companion planting with the design of Veg Plotter. So we'll see if we can find out some of that a bit later on. Turbo Stream, as I get older, I want to use technology less. That looks like a right faff. Be interested if you are still using it later on in the year. And that's a very good question to ask, actually, because a few years ago I tried with another one. Now, vegplotter.com, the one I'm demonstrating today, is a free to use. The one I tried a few years ago, I had to pay a year's subscription, and I used it in January and then never used it again. So that's one thing I like about VegPlotter, is that it is free, and I think it's, as you hear on the podcast tomorrow, it's probably a much better way of trying to see if you like this style. But saying that, Digwell Green Fingers has said companion planting needs to be improved on all the online planners. Sorry, I have not seen the mention of biodynamic planting. Well, that's a good point, and Sean is agreeing with that. Now, I can't argue with that. I've not really looked into the companion planting side, in all honesty, so I will look into that as we go on through. That plotter looks pretty decent. I quite like it. I will quite like it. What else have we got in the comments? Jim M, what do Jerusalem artichokes taste like? I've always imagined them to be a bit like sweet potato. What would I say? I would say they taste more like a potato than sweet potato, a cross perhaps between the two, with like I guess a carrot texture when raw is probably a good way to describe it. I can't really describe the taste, but I quite like them. I do quite like them. I have to, because I've got so many of the bloody things, and they do have a tendency to take over. Mike Stevens is saying that he uses his natural instinct to how things look and use complementary colours together if possible. Yeah, that's you can't argue with that either, can you? Apparently, hopefully I pronounce her name right, Durka is saying that artichokes are good on pizza. So I know I've never tried them on a pizza. I know globe artichokes are good on pizza. I've had that many times. Yeah, right. So let's go back to designing this up. So what else have I got? We've got a blackberry next. So that'll go there. Then I've got a red currant, which, yeah, but that's quite a bit further down. Actually, yeah. So what I'm seeing, because I do have I got another blackberry? This is all done off memory today. Got another blackberry, but I've got quite a bit of space in between these areas here. Whereas around here, I've only put one rhubarb in there. There's actually about 4 or 5 squeezed in that little area. So I'm kind of liking how this is helping me visualize what space I actually have. Carry on. I've got a shed that's going to go in next. Let's see if they've got wooden deck in path shed. So my shed is about there. What size? That looks about the right size, so we'll leave that as it is. Then we've got, well, actually we've got the actual main bed, which goes like that, and let's zoom out a bit just to see what we've got. Comes right down to there. So this is a path. I don't know if I didn't see anything for adding a path, did I? Or did I? I can't remember. We'll worry about that another day. Quickly, right. So I've got an apple tree. I remember that, which is just there. He says it's disappeared. Oh, I see. It's because that's disappeared there because it's not an actual bed. So we do actually have some beds just running down this side. Oh. That's better. Now what I've haven't seen, and I've been through this to try and work it out, is that just up in this top corner, I have a nature area where I've got like a bug hotel made out of a load of pallets. There's no way I can put that on there. So the closest thing would be beehive, but we'll worry about that another day. Right. Raspberries. I've got a row of raspberries. I've got 2 rows of raspberries actually. Let's find those. And they are autumn ones that go there. And that almost takes up that entire bed. And then what else do we have? Strawberries. Let's add some strawberries. Oh. So although I've already done that on the allotment at the moment, it's telling me that I probably have squeezed those in a bit too much. So wonder if I just move those over a bit. That's probably better, actually. I've got to admit, I've not done this to scale or anything. This is quickly whipped up to try and test things out. Now, what I've got at the very top here currently is some cabbages. We'll pop those in. Spring cabbage. How could I reduce these down? I think because it's at the very bottom of the screen. There we go, that's better. Now, so that's telling me that I can get, if we look over here, 14 cabbages in that row just along there. And come down here, harvesting months May, June, and sown indoors in November. So you got a good idea of what is going on and what is being happening. Let's quickly bring back to the comments and just see what everyone's thoughts on it are so far. So last year, my first year on my allotment. So am I allowed to? So I am still to learn when to sow at the correct times. Does it give advice on sowing times? I think it does, looking at what I've just seen. And I think they ask when you sign up for your postcode so they can tailor all the planting ideas to your location. So I think it does take that into consideration. Jim M. Nutty sounds okay to me. Talking about Jerusalem artichokes, I'm sure. I'll have to give them a go. What I would say, Jim, if you're going to grow Jerusalem artichokes, grow them in a bed or something to contain them, because they grow really big. The plants are actually related to sunflowers. They grow really tall, but they will, unless you get every single Jerusalem artichoke out, they will grow back year after year and they will spread. So you really want to try and contain them as much as you possibly can. But they are so good, I've got to say, in my opinion anyway. Is there a taxi option? I'm afraid there is no taxi option, but definitely something I will look at. Somebody in the Facebook group is saying hello to me, hello to you. Unfortunately, in the Facebook group, it doesn't tell me who it is. The Fisherman, Turbo Stream, watch Mr. Smith Vegetable Garden on your YouTube. Best TV gardener from years ago would tell you all about planting times. There you go, Mr. Smith. I think that's Rob Smith, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it Jeffrey Smith, as somebody else is saying? One of the two. One of the two. I'm not sure. Not quite sure who it is. So, don't forget, you can call in or zap yourself in. I'm going to add the link right now and see. There we go. Links now in the chat if you're in the Facebook page or YouTube channel, or you can call in on 07307 135 174. Now, if I don't see if you zap yourself in, just sit there and wait. I will come back and I will probably see you. I was Jeffrey Smith. My mistake. Sorry, I was thinking of somebody else. So I'm not aware of him, but I will check him out. Have I? So many buttons to press all the time here. So what this tells me now is we've got a lot of space just here to work things out. Now I want to put some potatoes in. So let's go back to this and let's put some potatoes in. God knows I've got quite a few. No, must have, they don't like. There we go. Potato. So all my potatoes are probably going to go nearer the bottom here. Because I haven't grown potatoes there this last year. Let's try and zoom in on the bottom so we get an idea. So how many at the moment? That tells us we can get 33 potato plants in one row along there. I normally have about 5 rows of potatoes. So that tells me now 33 times 5. I can't remember how much that is. There would be 115 plants, I think, if my maths is up to scratch. That's down in the bottom row. So given that my collection of potato seeds that we went through last week, just down here, I think we're going to fit quite a few in there, and that should do us well. Oh, sorry, let me get rid of this. Your phone's off the hook. No, the phone should be working. The phone should... Ah, here we go. Oh. Apparently somebody's leaving me voicemails. Try again and we'll come back to it. What was that? I grew up watching Jeffrey Smith, a brilliant old school gardener. I've never heard of him, in all honesty, so that's a new one that I've learned today. Right, let's go back to this. If whoever was on the phone wants to try again, I think that would have been Jim looking at it. Either that or we've got a problem with something else going on, but I'm not sure what. What else are we going to have? We're going to have some onions. Let's find some onions. Brown. I always like to have a bit of a gap. Oh, here we go. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hello, it's Jim.
Hello.
I'm in Dunstable.
Hello, Jim. How are you today?
Yeah, not too bad. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Back on to Jerusalem Artichokes.
Yes.
I know about their reputation for spreading. I know you have to keep them in control, and I'd like to give them a go, but I'm not sure I'd even like them, to be honest. I've never tried them. So what do you reckon if I were to just grow a small amount of them in, say, a 40 or 50 litre tub?
Yep.
Do you think that would work?
It will be fine, yes. And what you could actually do is, at the moment, Jerusalem artichokes are in season, so you could probably go and buy some to try and cook with and just see if you actually like them first.
Right, yeah.
You probably have to go to a proper garden, greengrocer to find them, though, is the only thing, because they don't normally sell them in supermarkets.
Yeah. Well, yeah, supermarkets are selling pretty minimal stuff at the moment anyway, aren't they? So, yeah. Are they particularly thirsty plants in your experience?
To be honest, I've put them in the ground, and that's all I really have done with them. They just grow back. I harvest them once a year, but I don't really water them. I might cover them in a mulch in the winter when they've died back, and that's it. They're really easy. Really easy to look after. Don't even need food or anything.
Good to hear. Yeah. You got my curiosity up, because I keep hearing about Jerusalem artichokes, fartichokes.
Yeah.
I might give them a go this year, possibly. Yeah.
I think it's well worth trying, because I like them. I know a lot of people don't like them, but I like them.
Well, Sean mentioned that they have a nutty flavour, and the reason I love pink fir apple potatoes so much is because they've got that slight nuttiness to them, you know.
Yeah.
So if that's a similar sort of flavour in Jerusalem artichokes, I wouldn't mind giving them a go.
Definitely worth it. Definitely worth giving it a go. I recommend them.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Thanks very much, then.
While I have you on the phone, what's your thoughts on how to plan an allotment or garden?
To be honest, I shy away from the technology side of it.
Yeah.
All I really do, I follow a loose rotation. I don't follow a very strict rotation. I basically just make sure I don't plant the same produce in the same bed 2 years on the trot. I'll quite often just leave it a year and then go back again, you know, to where we were before, sort of thing. It's all been very organic on my plot. It's been down to necessity and all sorts of things. I never sat down with an original plan. It's just kind of evolved as I've worked along.
Sure.
That's what works for me.
Yeah.
I do this loose rotation. I know what I need every year. I know how much I need of those items every year, and I just make space in the beds. The larger beds are quite often split into 2 or 3 different types of produce, for example. You know, I'm quite casual about it, but at the same time, I'm very aware of what I'm doing. You know?
Yeah. I think that's quite a fair point, because I'll be honest, in the past that's what I've always done. But I've got a vision in my head, and I wanted to see it laid out on a paper this year, which is why I started experimenting with Veg Plotter. Yeah.
I did look at one of these programs years and years and years ago. Sorry, one of these pieces of software years and years ago on a home PC, and even then, it just didn't. It's technology in general. It doesn't really doesn't ring my bell, you know.
I know exactly what you mean, because I've been exactly the same in the past. So it's taken me a while to really get used to it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll let you get on. Thanks very much, Richard.
Thank you for calling. Cheers, Jim.
Have a good evening. See you later.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
There we go. That was Jim all the way from Dunstable on the phone there. So before we go back to this, we've got, so what's Sean saying? Waitrose sell Jerusalem artichokes 500 grams for £1.80. Sorry. So there you go. I didn't actually think Waitrose would sell them, but they do. Chi is saying they are lovely. Talking about Jerusalem artichokes, I really do like them. Take a bit of getting used to if you've never eaten them, but I think they are delicious. And apparently, Jeffrey Smith used to present Garden as well. That's probably why I haven't heard of him, because I don't tend to watch much TV, in all honesty. Nigel has joined for the last 10 minutes. Nigel, let us know how you plan your allotment, if you plan it at all. And everyone seems to be talking about artichokes as well. My experience of artichokes is once you have them, they are there forever as the slightest chip regrows. They are nice, though. I agree. I think who was it? I think it was Bob Flowerdew, when he was asked a question on how to get rid of them, he basically said the only way would be something like pigs or ducks to dig around that area to try and get rid of them, because they will eat anything. Was it ducks or geese? Something like one of the two, as a way of trying to get rid of them, because they are there forever, as it says. Right. Let's get back to this plan. Where was I? So I was adjusting the onions. Now I got a feeling my allotment isn't going to be like this at all, because I might be making a few changes. But in that row, 44 onions we have there. So let's just have a quick look. I've got a bag of onions here, just there, and it says there's I don't know if you can see it without the light getting in the way. It says there's 50 in that bag, so that's enough for one, just slightly more than one ride. Chances are there's probably 6 in there that aren't any good anyway. So that useful for that. Let's have a quick look at what's so. Okay, I'll give them another go. Talking about Jerusalem artichokes, we'll be watching you for advice on how to cook them. I'll tell you what we'll do next weekend then. We'll try and cook. I can do it in here. We'll try and cook some Jerusalem artichokes on the show while we're here. So give us something to do and a few ideas that we might be able to try. Money Boots, Nigel, I plan my growing on a 4-year rotation, similar to what I think many other people are saying. So I guess with how long you've been gardening on the plot, you don't really have any designs or anything like other people might do. Adrian, geese probably, yes. I think it was geese with their hard bill. I remember Bob Flowerdew saying about the hard bill, so that would make sense that it was geese to get rid of Jerusalem artichokes because they are so pernicious. Right, I didn't start that. Right, what else can we have? I want some red onions. There we go. If I can bring that in. So again, that is 44 in that space. So that's about a bag's worth. And then I'm going to have some more brown onions because we tend to eat quite a few. If I can just get it. There we go. Can be a bit fiddly trying to use this, in all honesty. Especially when things like that happen. So let's move that up. There we go. Hopefully you guys are seeing this all okay and getting the idea of what's going on. Let's have a quick look back at the comments because I can see there's quite a few. Excuse me. Clean then boil, pretty much from Adrian with regards to Jerusalem artichokes. I'll probably do something like my gratin because that's so nice and I haven't eaten that for a while. Get Amanda to taste them or give an honest opinion. I can try and drag her in. She's eaten it before, so I'll try and drag her in and try it. If you only had room for one plant, what would it be? Oh, good question. Hard one. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to think of that, and I think I'll ask that question in a future live stream, if you don't mind, Stuart, because I think that's a very interesting question. Sean is saying, I think computer software has won the day. I think there's a lot to be said for it. It seems to be working quite well on this. We've got about 5 minutes to go, everyone. So if you want to call in quickly or zap yourself in, I'll add the link. Then please do go ahead for these last few minutes. I tend to grow the same crops for each year for self-sufficiency. And I think that's true. We all try and grow the same crops each year, but I always like to try something different each year as well. What am I doing this year? I can't remember what I'm doing a bit different this year. It was going to be wheat. I know that. I'll have to check my notes and remind me what I'm growing differently instead, or the new thing to grow. The software is probably easier once you invest the time to set it up. Actually, that is a good point. Once I've played around with it and got used to it for a while, it is a lot easier to use. Like most things, you've just got to play around with it and get the idea of how to do it. And there's probably a lot more things that we could do with this software that I'm not using to its fullest. She is saying she would have an apple tree as the only, if she could only grow one. I've got to say, it's probably my choice would be an apple tree as well. Apple trees I've got quite a few apple trees and they're quite sentimental thing that we have here in my garden. Keeps the wife happy, I'll put it like that. Nigel has joined. CAD gardening always seems a bit pointless to me. Organic pencil and paper seems more fitting somehow. Excuse me. I think a lot of people are saying that the organic pencil and paper seems to work quite nicely. But what I'm also liking with this CAD drawing or this software is that we get the ability to see what comes out at certain months when something's harvest and when beds are going to be empty. So a good little thing. So have I missed Julia? Hello, Julia. Sorry, I didn't mean to miss you. There we go. There she is. I might even get to grips with it too, Sean. Yes, thankfully, Mike Stevens. There we go. Oh, Sean earlier was asking, we need your garden this year, Julia. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Let me know when it's ready and I'll drop some plants around to you like we've done before and get something sorted. Right, how long have we got? 3 minutes to go. Andrew is saying it would have to be parsnips for him if I could choose just one veg. So I tell you what, that thing I haven't put on this diagram yet is parsnips. So let's have a rough idea. This is what? This is about 3.5 meters wide. So how many parsnips can we fit in that area if we were to do a row? That's fine. Well, that's not how we smell parsnips. There we go. So for some reason, it seems to like going vertical when it comes to it, but that's not a huge problem. It might just be because I've set mine out that way. So that tells me I can fit 68 parsnips in a row along my allotment. Probably don't need 68 parsnips, but it's good to know. So let's see if it tells us sow outside month, January 2021. Well, I don't think it'll probably be more like March time when we sow it, and harvest August, September. I would actually, that's probably when we would start to harvest them in all honesty, but I would actually say we would harvest them way beyond then as well compared to that. What else does it say? And then good companions that go with it. So broad bean, chives, garlic, leek. There you go. I didn't realise that we could actually have all this. Now, on notes on the bottom, I have learned that we can actually take a photo of the seed packet and add that in, should we want to, as well as another great little feature. So there we go. Let's bring that back to that. Right. Well, that is it. We're going to close up for this week. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. It's been great. Thank you for the phone calls and the chat and the comments. I'm going to, this question that Stuart has asked, we will save that for another week and perhaps next week, because I think that's a brilliant question. I'll make a note of that. Let's quickly go through the comments quickly and see what we have here. So, oh, we have a caller first. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from? Okay. Whoever that was, didn't want to talk. Durka is saying gardening is the original www.weedwaterandwatch. What else? That would, Julia, that would be yes, no problem. We'll sort that out. I will help Julia as after we are free. I'm set on coming south, so I can lend a hand for a couple of hours. So there we go. Little Codes, hi all, hello to you. I've just made a video featuring parsnips at Andrew Norris. There you go. Excuse me. Cabbage for Stephen Moscow. So that's quite a good idea. Robert Brailsford, rhubarb, and more rhubarb. I like rhubarb. That's actually a good point as well. I like rhubarb, and it provides us with plenty of rhubarb for years. I think Veg Plotter looks brilliantly. I would definitely give it a go. Thanks for the demo. You're welcome, Chi. It's I'm quite impressed with it, especially as it's free. I think that's something I really like about it. Everyone's nasty cough there. Get a test. I had a test the other day as part of work, so I know I'm good. I think it's just talking a lot has got this going. Sending hugs to you and Amanda. Thank you. I think everyone's ready to go. So that's it. Okay, great. That's been great. Thank you so much, everyone. Like I say, it's been great chatting to you. Great having this conversation. We'll be back again next week. Like I say, I'll try and cook up some Jerusalem artichokes live on the show. I'll set up the second camera. And what else can we'll continue this question of if you could only grow one plant, what would it be? Right, cheers guys, and I'll see you again. Let me find the closing one. Where is it? I can't remember now. There. Right, I'll see you all again next time.